And finally, part 5 of chapter B. Let's just do a little reminder. Go back to maybe 3rd grade for a little while. Do you remember how to add fractions? Subtract, multiply, and divide them? Well, remember, for adding and subtracting, you must have common denominators. In this case, the common denominator is going to be 6. Well, what do you multiply by 3 to get 6? You multiply it by 2. So you have to do the same thing in the numerator as well. Okay, bring in the plus. What do you multiply by 6 to get 6? You just multiply it by 1. So you do, you do the same thing in the numerator. 5 times 1. Simplify that out, you get 4 plus 5 over 6, which is 9 over 6. You can reduce that. This is equal to 3/2. So what about when you're subtracting them? You do exactly the same thing. Your common denominator is 6. What do you multiply by 3 to get 6? Do the same thing to the numerator. Bring down the minus. What do you multiply by 6 to get 6? And do that to the numerator. This ends up being 4 minus 5 over 6, or negative 1/6. Now whenever you multiply or divide fractions, you do not need common denominators. You just multiply straight across. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 6 is 18. Then you reduce it. 2 will go into both of these, so you can come up with 5/9. Now what if you wanted to reduce it before you multiplied? You can see here we have a 2 and here we have a 6. You can reduce those. 2 will go into 2 once, and 2 will go into 6 3 times. 1 times 5 is 5, and 3 times 3 is 9. So you still get the same answer, you just reduce it before you start the problem. When you divide fractions, remember you keep the first one, you flip the second one, and you change it to multiplication. Now it works just like what we did in the last problem. 2 times 6 is 12. 5 times 5 is 25. And that one won't reduce, so we'll stop there. Let's apply all of that to algebra. Now whenever you have a rational expression like this one, the first thing that you want to do is completely factor everything. I usually do that over here on my scratch paper. So if we have that first one, we know we can factor in x out. So we'll end up with x squared minus 5x plus 6. Using the rules we learned in the last video, we know we can factor this one into, what will that be, a -2 and a -3. So this numerator factors into x, x minus 2, x minus 3. Then you have your denominator. Here we could factor out, it looks like a 2 and an x. And we'll be left with x minus 3, and that's all there is to that one. Multiply this. On the right, looks like we could factor out just a 4. Now this is a sum of cubes. I hope you remember how to factor sum of cubes. So you're going to have your 4, your small parentheses, and your large ones. What do you cube to get x cubed? You cube x. What do you cube to get 8? You cube 2. You put the sign here. Square this one. Square this one. Put these two together in the middle. This is always plus. This sign is always opposite this one. So now that's completely factored. Okay, now factor the denominator. Looks like we can factor out a 2x, and we'll be left with x squared minus 4. This is difference of squares. So we factor that into x plus 2 and x minus 2. Now since this is multiplication, we just multiply straight across. And remember on that last page we could reduce it first? That's kind of what I want to do here. We can reduce it first by doing this. X over x is 1. We have an x minus 2 over x minus 2. We have an x minus 3 over x minus 3. We have an x plus 2 over x plus 2. Look at the denominator. Here we have 2 times 2, which is 4, and we have a 4 in the numerator. So 4 over 4 is also 1. Looks like this entire fraction is gone now. And we are simply left with x squared minus 2x plus 4 all over x. This is now completely simplified.